we get started. Yeah.
Yep, we can start absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's a special event of MBA for Startup program. It's the first such event, but absolutely not the last. But today we have extremely special guest, Supreet Manchanda from the US, from California, is today with us. So I cannot see you now. I'm not sure if it's okay. I can see you, perfect. And Supreet is our first guest, but he's a very good friend of Poland. He was in Poland probably a few times already and knows our community, our startups environment also here. Supreet is investing in startups in whole the world, but also in the US, and he knows a lot about innovation. He knows a lot about startups, new ideas of startups, and we wanted to invite him to give you this fresh view, this other view from the US. So, I will ask you to introduce yourself, but I want only to say that it should be a very interactive meeting. We want to discuss. We want to give you the possibility to ask Supreet about different things. Don't hesitate to stop sometimes to ask questions, to switch on your microphone. Don't use chat, only try to be open, try to ask questions with your voice, and it should be a discussion. Wojtek, please.
But you know that if you ask this group not to use chat, you will have to moderate the conversation because
okay, I will do it.
And we do ask questions.
Don't worry. If you will be too active, I will use my power, let's say, to stop you. And in such a case, I will ask you to use more chat. But of course, you can use the hand. Yeah, we can hear you, Adam.
So apparently there are people in the waiting room. Can you check that? Because
there's no people in waiting room now. We have all people in. Okay. Adam, you have something a problem with microphone because I can hear you, but not very clear. Okay. Okay, so Supreet, the floor is yours. Let's start this fascinating meeting. Please.
Thank you very much. So, first of all, I want to tell you from me to all of Poland, thank you. Thank you for saving people in Ukraine, and thank you for showing your heart. The people of Poland have always been wonderful to me. But what you are doing to the world is blessings from everyone. Thank you for showing us the right way to do things. It's just amazing. You guys are amazing, you know. Also, your food is amazing. So every time I come to Warsaw, I gain, 5 kilos, 10 kilos if I eat too much pierogi, you know. So it's one of my favorite things. So I'm putting the chat here open just in case you guys ask questions, but ask questions just here so we can, we use chat to make notes and whatever, so we can capture things later. My background is I was born in India. I was 2, my parents kidnapped me and they took me to Africa, so then I grew up in Ethiopia, and then Zambia, and then all the way till the end of high school. And for university, I first went to England. They kicked me out. They didn't like me. I didn't have enough money. And second, then from there, one of my friends said, go to America, it's cheaper. The exchange rate is cheaper. And I moved to Texas. So very confusing beginning childhood, but loads of fun, And so growing up, I always think of myself as a hybrid. I'm an African I'm an Indian because I look Indian. Although when I go to India, they can smell me out and say, this one is not a local. He's from somewhere else. Even though I speak the language and everything, it doesn't matter. They can smell. And so what the world has done is make us global. If you look at what we're doing, if you think 10 years ago, this was not possible. As a matter of fact, even 5 years ago, this was harder to do. We used to use WebEx and this or that. Now with Zoom, we are just in a completely different way of connecting with each other. And a long time ago, there's a company here called AT&T, American Telephone and Telegraph, which coined a term I love. They created the death of distance. And the death of distance allows us to connect with each other and share knowledge and bring ourselves together so we can actually start doing the more important things. And I'll get to my background in a second. But the fundamental shift has happened is that we are moving from an industrial-based economy, which was very same type repetitive work, to an informational economy, which is never going to be all the same work because people's demands are different. In the old model, the demands were, I give you something, you take it. I want to buy a car. What color do you want? Oh, I want green. There you go. We have the best color, black. I want a color red. There you go. We have the best color, black. So there was very little personalization, but there was lots of standardization. And now what has happened is the world has become hyper-personalized and hyper-individualized in ways. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. There's many times when you're like, oh, what did I get? Especially with things like Amazon or Allegro or any of those things. They want to personalize and standardize, and it's still a work in progress. So I went to university in the United States. My background is in engineering. I started with electrical, then end up in industrial engineering. I'm a process guy. As a matter of fact, I draw, it makes people crazy because I draw everywhere. I like flows, workflows. What happened here? What happened next? How is the handoff? All of those. I will give you books to read that are interesting to read. And one of the people to read is a person who is one of my mentors. His name is Elihu Goldratt. And he wrote a book called The Goal. And it's written like a novel, so you can read it very easily, but he talks to you about how supply chains work. And in this day and time, it's a very good. So I will actually, there's something I can put in here. Goldratt. And the book's name is The Goal. I'm giving you more work, and you're going to say, wait, they're not supposed to get more work, right? But so you can find this on Amazon. It's very affordable, but very interesting guy who came up with the idea, which a philosophy I believe is if you manage the failures, you will become more successful. Everybody knows about the big tennis players, right? Who's the most interesting tennis player to date? Anybody? Guys, this has to work interactive. You have to talk to me, otherwise I will be a robot.
Łukasz Świątek in Poland.
Okay, and then?
Then I don't know anything about tennis.
I think maybe not only interesting but controversial. There is a Djokovic, which is, let's say.
Okay. Keep going.
Rafael Nadal.
There's Nada, and then there's the guy who recently almost retired.
Murray.
Federer, remember Federer?
Federer, yeah.
You forgot him already?
You can speak about football or ski jumping.
He's alive. He's not dead yet. The interesting thing about Roger Federer and Nadal and all the greats is, but Federer particularly, they studied him in Switzerland as a science experiment. In Switzerland, they study everybody, they measure everything. And the biggest thing they came up with, the reason he won more than most people was because he made 30% less errors. So you'll think to yourself, you're like, wait a minute, 30% less errors. How is that impact winning? Well, because then you don't have to, if you make an error, you have to work against the point, and then you have to still create the point. So there's two pieces to that. One, you have to bring it back to zero. It was negative. If you make an error, they have to bring it to zero. Then you have to make the point. So you are expending not just the work to bring it up, also the work to make the point. So you're doubling the work effort, and that creates people become tired. Companies are the exact same way. If you reduce errors, you start actually creating leverage. And we will talk about the leverage of that. So I came to the United States, did industrial engineering. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Unless you're a Japanese VC, then you reduce the error to zero. Basically, you don't invest, then you don't lose money.
No. Okay. Just think in terms of, don't worry about the money part for invest. Just think in terms of effort for a moment. Yeah. I will invest in a company who has failed, but we will get to that. Let me finish this part, then we get to that. Keep that, actually write that in the chat so we keep that question, okay? So maybe that's the good way, is when you have a question, you talk to me, but also keep it in the chat so that we have a record of that, okay? So that way it works. So I came to the United States, did my engineering. I was very poor. I had no money. I only live on scholarships. And I was working, I did every job. I drove a truck. I worked as a farmer in the middle of Texas. It's very hot, 40 degrees plus, and then there's these cowboys, and they make fun of you, you make fun of them, you drink lots of beer. So I learned to drink beer. But what happened in this process was I learned to see normal people working. And normal people working is the engine of the economy. As much as you want to think the big ones are the engine of the economy, it's not. It's the normal people working is the engine of the economy. And for a long time, that was an industrial type of behavior. And now we are at this crux where we are shifting to a informational economy, which is why all of a sudden, a lot of great normal people who were working in a company decided, I can do this. I can do my own business. Look at the amount of freelancing work that happens. The guy who made my website is from Ukraine. The guy who created my business card is from Malaysia, right? The people that we write marketing copy with, and they work when we are sleeping and it's their daylight. And so we are using a 24-hour cycle to create that level of continuity, which is very important. And even big companies are doing this, in design, in manufacturing. Factories move, around. People take a work order and they keep moving the energy around as long as it involves information. But we know information is not everything. And that led to, from my engineering work, which was all industrial engineering with the stopwatch where you study the line and everything. And I said, this is boring. I can't do this. This, standing in front of a line, measuring with the stopwatch how many times the package went through. I did one summer program with FedEx. And after that, I said, I can't do this. This is not what I do. I like action. So I moved into the IT world and I discovered information is the glue that connects the finance, the money to the product. And if the information lags too much, there's dysfunction because too much money gets stuck in the chain. And if the information leads too much, there's dysfunction because not enough money is in the chain or people don't know where it is. So they're too busy trying. So there's some amount of synchronization. So for all my life, I have been the guy who has been synchronizing information between money and product. And if you think of that you realize that system is sort of, it has to live in a balance. If the money is too far ahead, you will develop a product that will fail because you haven't taught the market how to use it. If the money is too far behind, you will never lead. So you will always end up in a place where you're not innovating, you're a follower. There's nothing wrong with following. You just have to choose, this is what we want to do. There are a lot of people who make a lot of money by being the follower. Some people make money by being the leader. There's risks in all of that. And so I think one of the most important pieces of this, and that's why that error question is important, is you have to do recovery from an error, and then you have to do delivery on what you promised. When a person buys a product or a service, they expect delivery for that. You go to Allegro or Amazon, and you buy product X and they say deliver in 2 days, right? If they don't deliver in 2 days, in 24 hours plus 1 minute, you call them and you say, where is my product? Where you did, I don't see tracking number. I don't see shipping. What's wrong with you people? You're all useless, blah, 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 right? And so they ship you another one. And then there's failure, and because there's too much in the pipeline. And so that ability to anticipate becomes important. And that's where the disruption is. That's the disruption, that the first level of disruption, managing expectation to delivery, to behavior. But let's talk about ecosystems for a moment. And so there's a question, hold on. Don't be reducing to innovate, to be creative. We need to be able to make errors. Okay. Yes, very important point. I'm not saying don't make mistakes. So the word is unforced error, not error. You are going to make mistakes. We are human. Until the robots take over, we are going to make mistakes. And here's the genius of the mistake. Sometimes the mistake is where the innovation comes from. As a matter of fact, it is my opinion that when a system is running perfectly, you have to actually break it. You have to speed it up. You have to, so that when you break it, because we only learn in failure. We only learn from failure. We do not learn from success. We're too busy celebrating, and after the second or third beer, we don't remember what we were doing anyway, So, and if it's vodka, it's, oh my God, you end up very quickly not remembering error or anything else. So the interesting piece about this is that you end up becoming very dynamic in your response. So I'm going to take a pause here and read some of the questions. Yes, Kickstarter is a very interesting example. Kickstarter, it creates a contract to deliver nothing. In how many times you went to Kickstarter, you bought something and you didn't get it? I'm one of the people who did that. I bought it. This was the Super Gizmo. The latest one was Super Gizmo. It's supposed to attach to the back of your Mac screen, and you can put your phone next to it so you can see your phone and your computer. The guys took the money. My $100 is gone. They are gone, and it's completely a mess. But there's still a contract. People are still doing that because in the overarching scheme of things, they are the leaders. They're people who are early adopters, right? And by the way, if you're a startup, you like these people. You want to interact with these people because the early adopters are what makes startups go. Then they're the ones who come right behind the early adopters. These are the people who are influenced. The early adopters, the influencers, now as we use a new term, but we used to call them early adopter. They then tell the story, and the ones right behind say, oh, that's really nice. Well, what does this thing do? Oh, it's really good. It goes from USB A to USB-C, and it's little and it fits on your keyring and you can use it anywhere. Oh, I like that. Does it work? Yes, it works. Look, I'm using it. Oh, okay. And if the answer is no, I didn't use it, then what happens is people are like, it's useless. So that's why this whole influencer economy is emerging, because there used to be this thing called marketing. You remember this thing called marketing? It was when the company told you what their product did and they told big lies on the product, but we assume we knew it because it's called marketing. Oh, this is a new pen, and this pen can write in 5 colors, But then the people using, the communities started to develop, and people using, and the disruption in marketing is that everybody is a marketeer as long as they have experience, good experience and bad experience. Every one of us becomes a marketeer. We use a different word. We call it influencing. And then the good-looking ones, like Damien, can go out there and market the product. And because if I go try to market a product, they're like, don't buy from this guy. He looked like a terrorist, They look at Damien, they're like, oh my God, we went to heaven, I'm going to buy from him. What is he selling? I don't care. I just want to look at him, So and that's why pretty women and good-looking men are great influencers, because people are not buying the product. They're buying the emotion. And the 90% of disruption is about emotion. Everything else comes out of the emotion. So it's a very interesting thing. So let's see, 10% VC market is slow, but they remain the same. Okay, the Swiss are boring. We know that. They want to be boring. That is their selling point. The Swiss want to tell you we make two things. We do banking and we do cheese. Everything takes a long time, including the cheese, but that's it. Everything else is supposed to be boring. You drive across the way, 10 kilometers to Luxembourg, that's where all the innovation is happening. But in Switzerland, it's boring. And they're marketing boring because Switzerland is innovative in the way to preserve your money. Think about that. It's not innovative in the way to grow your money. No, that's Silicon Valley. It's innovative in the way, when you become rich, the problem is when you become rich. When you're poor, you don't care about your money because you don't have enough of it. If someone says, give me $1 and you got $2, you give him $1. You're like, okay, you are emotionally connected to the man's suffering. When you are rich, you are in the protection business. You want to protect your money. The same poor person who had only $2, when you give him, let's pick a number, $5 million, he will give you $1, but $4,999,099 he wants to keep, and he's preserving it because fear comes into the place. So no more innovation, only fear. So the Swiss come and tell you, we are teaching you, we are innovative in the way that we do nothing to hurt your money. We show you how we protect your money. We show how we grow your money at a small, stable, 10% incremental rate. Oh, by the way, we show you how we reduce risk. If you really distill the Swiss economy, their thinking, it's all about reducing risk. That's their innovation. Because many countries can promise it, but no one can deliver like the Swiss. That's why all the very rich people have bank accounts in Switzerland, right? Otherwise, you put it somewhere else. Oh, I want to put my money in South Africa. Right. What's going to happen to your money? Some witch doctor is going to come and you will disappear and your money will disappear even faster. The only innovation in that is how to become a better, make your money disappear witch doctor, So who's asking? Dorada, you asked, what is the Sinek golden circle idea? To buy from people who believe what you believe using pretty primitive brain structures. Yeah, that's the basis of everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I said it's actually quite similar what you said about disruption. I'm actually would like to hear more about the disruption we are watching now with the development.
So disruption is fundamentally if you think of it, disruption is a time lag. The public expectation of something and corporate delivery of something, product or services, the higher the dissonance, whether it's time or money, that's disruption. I want to buy a green car. Nobody has a green car. And all of a sudden, Damien comes up and he says, let's paint this white car green. Okay, why? Because someone keeps asking, green car, green car, green car. Oh, give me my green car. So Damien says, I got a green Mercedes, the new one. And everybody comes over there. And then there's a bidding war. And next thing you know, he goes to his friend and he says, listen, start painting all the white cars, green cars. We are going to make $10,000 more on each one. And I'm going to stand in front and say, look, the green car. And especially I'm going to do this with the ladies because I'm good looking and everybody knows it. And the result of that is he sells a green car. But soon, you know what happens? So Ulana decides, wait, I can do green car and white car. I can do green and white car with flowers. And soon the green car disruption disappears because many people start doing it. It becomes commonplace. Now, in information technology, that lead is computed in who has the ability to do again. Now, I'm going to teach you a new word. Does anybody know the name Joseph Schumpeter? Okay, Joseph Schumpeter was an economist around the end of the Second World War, 47, around that time. He wrote in a very boring economics paper called creative, and it really distills into the words creative destruction. And what is creative destruction? The thesis was fundamental. And it is this economics play, which is when something is scarce, it's going to have high value. And if you're a company that is bringing innovative product and scarce things, you will always be high value, but you know the supply chain curve, you know, it goes up to the peak and then it comes down and then it stabilizes and goes, you know, keeps going, you know. So if you at the peak, if you're really good as a company, at the very peak of your product, if you create a brand new product, you won't create another curve. Instead, you would jump to the next peak, to the next peak, to the next peak. Who's good at that? Name a company who's good at using creative destruction.
Apple.
Apple, exactly. And they have created creative destruction in two ways. Their creative destruction is one in product innovation. Although I will tell you that I think Apple has become less of that, but in the beginning they were amazing. And two, it's in the service. My iPhone, this little device, 3 weeks ago, something happened and it stopped working. I got a blank screen. So I go to the Apple store. The guy checks it. He said it's okay, but you know what? We don't want to take a chance. We give you a replacement. So this is a new phone. The old phone, he said was working. He checked it out. He said is working out, but the customer service value is so high. He gave me a new phone. So I asked him, I said, what are you going to do with the old phone? Well, we send it back. They go fix it. They look at it. They redo everything. Maybe they clean it up. They put new something, you know, maybe something's not working. They reload the software and then we sell it in a third world country as used. I'm like, very interesting. But the customer service value of making me happy is so important that they're willing to sacrifice what I paid to give me a new one. But then I realized the economies of scale. This is how it's the cheapest way to buy loyalty from me. Cheapest way to buy loyalty. I'm talking to you on a Mac. I have an iPhone. I have an iPad. My family, my mother has an iPad. My sister has a Mac. So we have an ecosystem where we share everything. And now we know way too much about what each other is doing. But this form of disruption, the creative destruction, creates very high brand loyalty. It creates evangelists. This is why everybody lines up to buy the new iPhone or the new whatever. And this recently, you know, we were talking about Apple is boring, and then Apple did something new. They created a brand new chip. So we all line up to buy their brand new computer because we are like, oh my God, what a computer. Because now my computer goes for 21 hours without charging. And when you travel and you don't have to carry, if you do a quick trip and you don't have to carry the little brick to power everything. And the other thing is they finally went back to putting things so you don't have to carry all the dongles because they're listening, they're figuring this out. But the other new companies doing disruption. Let's talk about the other new companies doing disruption. So you remember this company called MySpace? Right, it's not MySpace anymore, right? My new space is Facebook. And from Facebook, we moved to Instagram, from Instagram to TikTok. It is all about the emotion that they think of. They are valued at billions of dollars because their disruption is that they have figured out that the 5 seconds of fame that you get is such a big emotional draw that they will give you a platform to do it. The most important thing from humans need two things other than milk in the beginning. They need attention and they need praise. Or maybe need is the wrong word, want. Humans want attention and praise. You know, it's like I call Facebook and all of these social media things digital cocaine. You are waiting, you put something, oh, look, I saw this nice picture, you know, I put it out there. It's about the penguin in Antarctica, and look, the penguin is doing something funny, and everybody is waiting for like. Do you notice Facebook does not have a dislike button? Because the dislike will normalize your serotonin level, bring you back to normal, and it will make it ordinary. The like only keeps the serotonin in your head alive. And the more people like, the more you want to be liked. It's that human thing. And if you can tap into that with whatever service or startup it is, that is the energy of creative destruction. That is the energy, because what you are at the end of the day, selling yourself, the influencers, everything. This is all about how to, they're taking from a product to a service to a relationship. Okay, questions? Yeah, you try to buy M1. Yeah, it took me 4 months. I have friends at Apple. They bought it for me. It took me 4 months to get my new, I'm talking to you on my new M1, which I got last week, you know, literally. And the moment I got it, I was like a little kid in a candy store. I opened the box, I pull out the Mac, and I'm like, oh, this is a wonderful Apple computer. And then you have to discover the most important thing you have to do, migration. And then you're like, how do I move all my files? You know, the other step in the process. So this is that emotional high was so important. And as we move from an industrial economy to an informational economy, which the industrial economy is still there, but the layer of hyper personalization on top is because of an informational economy. You know, I want a green car. No, I want a blue car. Or, you know, I want, car is a big purchase. Let's say phone, you know, portable, it can show up whenever you want. You can choose the colors. You can customize it. You can do all kinds of things. And there's a whole army of influencers who are out there with little, you know, the equivalent of putting their own little micro billboard on the freeway saying, choose me, choose me, choose me, choose me. And with that, they have all this background. You know, the Amazon, I don't look at the product as much as I read the ratings. Who gave it? And I used to use good ratings. Now I realize it's better to read the bad ratings, because the good ratings only going to say good things, but the bad ratings tell you what failed. And this is about and look in that process, the sophisticated nature of the buyer. I find something on Apple, I look at it, I don't look at the good ratings, I look at the bad ratings. And then when I look at the bad ratings, I'm looking at what is the cost benefit impact to that innovation that they're giving me. What is the cost benefit based on the failure rate? If you think about, that's the new marketing. That's the new innovation. It's human engineering. And this is why we're moving from industrial production economy to an informational economy, where the information creates high value to premium to the product or service, which is ordinary, because it's how you get this packaging. Questions? You guys are all muted. You don't have to be muted, honestly. I know Damien's playing rock music at the back, right, Damien? Damien, what kind of rock music do you like?
Guns N' Roses, of course.
Ah, of course. Yeah. See?
From Appetite from Destruction.
So actually, music is a wonderful way to look at what is happening in the world, you know? How many of you bought music in the old days with, I know Rafa will, with we went to the record store, we looked through the pile, we were with our friends who were the micro-influencer group. As you go with your friends, you're a teenager, you look through and you say, oh, look at this record. And then you had to fight because the record store only had one record, and then you have to figure out, and then one person bought it, and then you shared it with everybody. And then if you got to make a little tape, and then you know, we used to do silly things. I like, what point of the tape you knew which part of the song would come, because you could look at that little window to see how much of the tape was used. It was the goofiest of things. But man, did it make everybody sticky. But so, and then they would, you know, you make a record, you want to listen to one song on the record and 10 bad songs, or, you know, 10 not so good songs, and you know, but you bought the record for $10 because the one song was the hit. And then you played that song to the point where the record was useless. You would start to skip just that one song, you know, okay, I put the needle over there, da 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 da. Used to remember doing all of that. And now that stuff is coming back. But we did the same thing with the DVD. We skipped to the song we like, but the marketing engine for songs was a packaging of mediocre with one hit. So you'd buy the whole package. So there, instead of buying one song, then came this guy named Steve Jobs. We were still buying music. We would buy the CD. We would go home. We would put it inside the computer. We would copy it and make into MP3s. And then we would put it on a disk drive. And then we would try to do all kinds of stupid things to play it. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work, sometimes the CD didn't work. And then they had all this digital rights management where they had put all kinds of things so the song wouldn't play. All that disappeared when Steve Jobs came. What did Steve Jobs do?
But there was actually one intermediate step in between the LPs and Steve Jobs coming. There was Napster and Casa and all this stuff that you can download.
All the MP3, right, exactly. All the MP3 guys. But you know what Napster and Casa and all of these guys were doing? They didn't simplify the process. They just digitized the process. They didn't simplify it. What Apple did was they simplified it. And on top of that, remember the iPod? I remember I stood in line to buy the first iPod with my friends. We are here in Silicon Valley. What are you doing? Let's go. Apple is doing this thing called iPod. You can put music on it. Let's go. Okay, we stand in line. And we stood in line and we all paid like ridiculous hundreds of dollars to buy the little device. And we were so happy because you could click wheel it and you're like, check this out. I still have mine, by the way. So it's in my car plugged in for my music forever. You know, now I have my music in my car that way. But so there is always going to be intermediary that will help you, but they will do incremental pieces of innovation until the person who does the quantum leap. Steve Jobs did the quantum leap because instead of saying, this music is yours and then you have to make a DVD, you buy the DVD and then you copy it and you put it on your Napster platform, you still had to, you know, and then you share it. I'm going to make this seamless for you. First, I'm going to give you a device. Secondly, I'm going to give you the library of music. So you keep looking. And then third, I'm going to make sharing easy. There's no digital rights management. He created a brand new economy. He wanted to sell the device, but he recognized that without service or without a product that helps, the device won't sell. It have marginal impact. If you really think of in this last 100 years, one of the most innovative, if you look at this thing, look at this thing. What does it have? Nothing. It's a plain screen of glass, right? Plain screen of glass, and it's got a disk drive and some software. But we use it for how many things? I use it for my maps. If you start taking a physical product and you replace it with this thing and you start looking, remember we used to have books that had maps? And then you had to look and say, okay, I have to go from Warsaw to Krakow. How do I go there? Okay, I have to find Krakow. Then I have to find Warsaw. And then I have to look on which page of the map book, okay, which grid, and then I have to make the map. You have to know, you turn here, you turn there. It made that easy. Okay, the map book disappeared. Then
our brains there, right? We don't remember phone numbers anymore.
Adam, put the microphone close to your mouth.
Okay. So basically, we outsourced our brains there, right? We don't remember phone numbers, we don't know maps, we don't know titles of movies. So whenever I need a title of the movie, I my phone and Google it for it, right? So
Exactly. Exactly. So you think about he didn't just create destruction, he created destruction on steroids. And what that is destruction on steroids is when one device or service, product or service allows you to do multiple things. But the biggest thing he did was not make the product. If you really look at it, is Rafa, you saying something? You're on mute. All right. So,
but I have something opposite because Adam, you can, if you don't want, you cannot use, or you can still have not iPhone but just simple phone. Because I have few friends who are totally against, and they are working in IT, they are programmers, we live in Switzerland, and they are totally against all these data maps and everything. They don't use phone, for example.
That's because they're Swiss. Swiss are very good about doing boring.
I would not agree with you for the 100%, but yeah,
That's a joke.
we still have like there is a Kickstart is a big. I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you're aware about how you call this. It's Kickstart is like Y Combinator.
Right.
How you call this? It's incubator for startups, right?
Incubator, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so they are doing quite good. We have some business angels, well-known in Switzerland group, and innovation in war in Zurich, like in different parts of Switzerland, in French and German, like innovation centers. Of course, it's not well promoted as in US, because I attended, like, why I asked this question in 10 times, because it was like there are books and people did research, and they well present that, of course, Swiss has minds and good knowledge about things, but they don't know how to promote as US do. So in US, they teach how to promote myself startup and how to get money. But Switzerland is very, how to say, fundamentally building the startups and so on. From my perspective, of course.
Right. So you're right. There's always going to be, so, you know, you learn this in marketing. They're the early adopters. They're the early laggards, which come behind them. And then you go all the way to the laggards, and then the system will flip, because what is innovation but giving people what they desire? And someone desires, you know, I want a simple candy bar phone because I'm tired of too much activity. So then the need shifts. You know, it's all based on need. And by the way, this is the most important piece of innovation that people don't realize. Too many people in startups are making a solution in search of a problem. The expectation that this is a problem that they're solving for, because the most important question you ask when you do a startup is, for whom is this a value? I give you a real example. One of my portfolio companies is they make an amazing thing. You guys know the word Waze, you know the tool Waze, you know, WAYZE, you know, the mapping company, it's bought by Google. And right, they made Waze for water. Because on water, if you are for recreational boating, there's no maps. There's no road sign, there's no sign on the water that says, okay, 2 kilometers, you will find petrol or food or bait or, you know, or community. So they made this thing which allowed them to create a community on water and in everything. I love what they do until I ask them this question, which I'm helping them with, which is, how are you going to make money?
Exactly.
Why are you in existence? How are you going to make money? These are important questions of startups, is how are you going to make money? Who is your customer? Who do you serve? But at the end of the day, how are you going to make money? Because the idea, we have this great idea. We have made this wonderful thing. Look, it's very interesting. You can put hot liquid in it and not get cold. And we put a handle on it so you can hold it and not burn your hand. And you can put wonderful, wonderful pictures, any type you like. Oh, and we call this mug 2.0. Oh, okay. We're going to give it away in the beginning. Okay. How are you going to make money? You give it away. How much it costs to make? $4 per mug. Okay, why $4 per mug? Well, when we make over 1 million mugs, it will become $2 per mug. And when we get to 10 million, it will become 25 cents for a mug. But for now, we're only making 10,000. It's a vanity thing. We let you put your picture. It's Mother's Day is coming. You can print your mother's picture and say, I love you. And we call it mug 2.0. Okay, what's the innovation? Oh, we put a battery in the bottom with a little induction plate. It keeps your coffee hot. Oh, very nice. Interesting. We're going to give it away. How are you going to make money? What do you mean? Who is the customer? For whom is this a problem? Supreet loves to drink coffee. He hates when he pick up the mug. He tried to drink it. It got cold. He's got the little induction. He wants to see his mother picture, says, I love you. Oh, great. Supreet going to pay $10 for it. You know, Patrick doesn't care. He says, I don't care. I don't drink hot things. I drink cold things. I can just drink from, a bottle. So no value to Patrick, not going to buy it. For Supreet, big value. But how many Supreets in the world think of a warm coffee every day because how many of them? We think maybe 10,000. How are you going to make money?
Supreet, and how do you think, what would be the next big disruption? Like at the moment reading the book, the future is faster than you think. I've just started and it's pretty inspiring, especially when it comes to flying cars. That apparently is a next disruption just around the corner. But how do you think?
This is a perfect segue. Thank you. You were reading my mind, because we're not going to talk about disruption. You already know about disruption. Let's talk about innovation. And the difference between disruption and innovation is you're making a product that you already know will have customers. So it's not a solution in search of a problem, but you're solving an existing problem. So let's think of 3 layers of innovation, moving people innovation. If you think of moving people innovation, where are the 3 layers? Right? When you mentioned this ability, so what does a flying taxi or flying car do? What's the problem it's solving?
Traffic, I guess.
Traffic jam, wasting time, right? But
And the need for roads. I mean, miles and miles of infrastructure instead of just starting and landing point.
Right. And this is a new experience.
Yeah. So how do you say your first name, Mr. Bula?
Wojciech. Yeah, I think it solves the biggest problem. It's solving it's kind of giving the dream of people of having the flying cars. But I don't see actually many problems being solved. I see many more problems being generated.
Let's look at where this will have high value. Because sometimes you're not solving a what problem. What is the problem? The question is, where is it being applied? So I'm in the jungles of Amazonia and there's no roads. And if I had an ability to go from one place to another without the need of a landing strip, see, the biggest thing about a flying car is about not needing a place to, we already have flying car. We call it airplane because it needs a landing strip and a takeoff strip. It's an airplane. The day we get everybody doing vertical airplanes, vertical takeoff, vertical landing, we call it flying car. You notice we have this big aluminum cylinder. We have wings on it. It lands at an airport. It comes and you have to go to airport. A flying car is providing to you limitless transportation from point A to point B without the need for infrastructure, without the need for security. In 3/4 of the world, it's not that there's no road and there's no cars, there's bandits.
What about helicopters? So what's the difference between a helicopter and a flying car?
It's more expensive, it's louder, and it needs more gas.
Well,
according to the book.
No. Let's simplify it to what is the difference between an airplane, a car and a flying car? That's one thing, is it moves you differently, but a helicopter and a flying car is average, ordinary people will be able to use a flying car, whereas for a helicopter, you need specialized training, right? The biggest limitation on helicopter is not the device. It's that you need a special license, you need to know how to fly it, and you need places to land it. But even that is solving. But what is happening is technology is moving so much that the ordinary ability to fly will be done by the computer. So where's the innovation? Is the innovation the flying car, or is the innovation in the artificial intelligence, which will make the flying process ordinary? You have flying car, it's called helicopter, exactly. But you don't have, it can't be my mother can use flying car. What is autonomous cars? What is all this? In San Francisco, you're driving around, you see like 4 or 5 different cars. There's a driver for now, but he's not touching the wheel. They got big laser moving, and it's got all kinds of sensors. And there's a company called Cruise, There's a company called Grab. All these companies are doing autonomous thing, and they're driving all over, mapping everything and training the AI to recognize things so that it doesn't crash, kill people inside the car or outside the car. And you learn from all the, trillions of bits of data on learning of everyday traffic. That's a pedestrian, that's a bicycle, that's a dog. Don't kill it, don't run it over. And that ethical dilemma that comes with that. What if there's going to be an accident, and on one side there's 3 children and the other side there's 3 nuns? Which one do you kill? You have to, if you're going to have an accident, who is going to be killed first and why? These are the bioethics that can come into play. So the interesting thing about innovation that you're talking about, which we're moving from disruption to innovation, is a key hallmark of innovation is simplicity. The systems will take over and make things simple. Do you remember we used to have these cars called stick shift? We used to change the gear, put in first gear, put in second gear, put in third. And if you put in the wrong gear, it made that noise and your brain exploded. Now we have automatic, right?
No.
Well, now we still have it in Europe, actually.
Yeah.
And many people believe if you really want to drive a car, it has to be
you have
manual.
to learn on stick shift. Right. I learned the same way. But if you ask someone who's young, like 12, they look at you like, what is this nonsense? Why do you have to do all this? Let the car drive itself, right? So what is happening is the more complex technology and chips we get, the innovation is actually is simplicity. How to make things easy, how to make things simple. Is everybody agree with me that up to now technology is all about speeding things up?
Makes our life easier.
Yeah, but up to now, technology makes things faster.
I'm thinking, for instance, about self-service package. I don't know how to say it, but the thing that allows you to pick up your parcel.
Right. The lockers.
The lockers, yeah. And at the beginning, it was, for me at least, all about being just faster. But the more I'm using it, it's more about being flexible and even not being forced to interact. Actually, it's more and more beneficial.
When I use the word simplicity, the simplicity has many components. Simplicity has what I call the illities. Simplicity, when you make things simple, because you make them more flexible, okay? You make them more available, okay? You make them on your schedule, right? When you have a simple, hey, I go to the locker, I pick it up, like they give me a code, I type in the code. What you've done is made that on demand, on your demand, the customer, not on, I have to go to the store with a little chit to say, look, here's my thing, give it to me. And then they ask you, what's your identification card? Then they match everything. That's old process. New process, it comes, or it comes to your house, right? But they're still painful. So when the word simplicity is a very complex word, because when you're simplifying a process or a product or a service, and innovation in simplicity is you make it faster, you make it more available, you make it easy to use so grandma can use it, right? If your 5-year-old child and your 95-year-old grandmother can use it, it's a really great thing, because you're looking at 2 amazing demographics, because one hasn't learned yet how to deal with complex things, and the other one has forgotten how to do complex things. My mother is like that, she forgets how to do things. Now, I'll give you my mother is an example. Okay, wait, hand is up. All right, go for it. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think the laziness is the driving force of the humankind, because one day those guys living in the cage, they thought like, okay, why we should go to chase these bloody mammoths? We can basically develop the agriculture, right? So
what is laziness another word for? A positive version of laziness.
Well, you basically spend less energy to achieve some goal. So yes, things are faster.
Right.
Or limited resources as well, right?
Yeah, but if you think of laziness, I think of laziness as a different way. Why am I using this kind of brain power to do that thing which is not important? Why don't we make it so simple? During COVID, what happened during COVID? By the way, COVID is an amazing accelerator. COVID created time compression. What was supposed to happen within 10 years in technology got compressed into 1 year. This is as a result of COVID. Zoom. I know the founder of Zoom, and his CIO and I are good friends, and we were laughing. The guy is so ridiculously rich now. And you know who he was an engineer at Cisco working on WebEx. And he hated the interface, and no one would listen to him how to make it easy. So he made his own company because he said, I want the everyday user to just click a button. You know, by the way, the best feature of Zoom, how many of you use it? I'm on Zoom on this thing. I come near my computer. It asks me, do you want to switch? And I can switch to my computer seamlessly. What it's done is made the process of communication, the focus is on the communication, not on the getting on the system. We spend so much time trying to figure out the technology. That's like, what's a good way to explain it? Or maybe a different way to explain it is if you go to buy a car and the guy talks to you about the engine, the tire, the seat, but doesn't tell you about it takes you from point A to point B in comfort. The cars that are the most expensive in the world do not talk to you about what's inside the car. They talk to you about your experience. Because at
That's
the
exactly
end,
what make.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's exactly what makes Apple a big goal, because I switch after, I don't know, 30 years of using the computer to the simplicity. It's just simple as hell.
Right. So because they know humans are inherently lazy, right? We want things simple, so we don't use our brain power to do that. So they know that the experience that makes us feel better trumps any experience that makes us do better. The experience that makes us feel better by doing better trumps even that. What is loyalty? Anybody? What is loyalty?
It's like the feeling of belonging to something.
Yeah.
So say if you are using, let's say iPod, if you are using product of Apple, you feel that you belong something to the family of people using Apple.
You can have high loyalty and lower loyalty, so that you can place
that's
yourself.
a degree, right? But let's
works both ways. So you are loyal because somebody gave you something, and then you become loyal. So the loyalty that is unidirectional is actually slavery.
So loyalty actually works. You're right. You're right. Juliana, right? That's how I say your name, right?
Yes, thank you.
Low loyalty, high loyalty. Loyalty is about a relationship.
But don't you think loyalty is,
right?
Sorry, don't you feel loyalty in startup world is a bit arguable? Like, for example, when we took an example of Grab and Uber. So we can, like those companies are fighting against each other. Like we had the great example in China where there was Uber in the past and also Didi.
Right.
And they burned each other like $3 billion fighting each other. On the end of them, that they like, you were paying like, let's say $1.50 for a ride and you were getting $20 to your pocket. For that, you took the ride and you're a lucky one. So where is the loyalty there? But when we talk about Apple, we have completely different level of relationship as well. So you can go to the Apple store and small looking like a temple. So we have there is a completely different level. It's not like even you and family, you and ordinary product. It's like you and the God, because you literally feel like in the temple. So there is a different look, but Uber is like the standard commodity.
So I want you have a piece of paper or whatever to write on, right? I want you to put an X in the middle, draw an arrow up, draw arrows on two sides, and draw an arrow down. So it looks like, hold on, like that. You see it? Okay. Loyalty is the ecosystem of this, you're in the middle, okay? Let me explain loyalty in Supreet terms. Loyalty is about creating a relationship, right? The highest loyalty, the up loyalty, like Apple, is this loyalty. I put Apple here. This loyalty is about forever loyalty, okay? This is loyalty because they have done two things. They gave you a very good product with an amazing service to support it. Then at the bottom, I put this loyalty, Uber and Didi and all these ride sharing, whatever components, right? You know why? That is your loyalty to your pocket. That loyalty is conditional loyalty. If the Uber is available and it's cheap, I take it. I give you this a real example. I showed up 4 weeks ago I went to visit my mother. She lives in a different place. I came back home. It was raining. I look at Uber price to go home. On average, the price is around $40 from the airport to my house. Uber price, $165. Taxi price, $70. Where's my loyalty? To my pocket, right? That Uber, Didi, all that loyalty. And by the way, they know that. That's why they spend a lot of money, because they want to lock you in. They want to lock you in and say, we give you benefit, then you only use Uber because you create a commitment. If you spend $100, we give you credits. We give you $25 in credits. So now you will only use Uber. And so you think, oh, that's a good deal. I'm getting $125 worth of value for $100 upfront investment. And I think it's a good deal until you reach the point where Uber meets your pocket and says $165 to go 16 kilometers. What's the taxi? $70. Okay, I take the taxi. There, the loyalty, the bottom one is loyalty to self. So they are transactional loyalty and there's relational loyalty. This is the difference between loyalty. Transactional loyalty is situation-based. Relational loyalty is product-based. Everybody, the utopia is relational loyalty. So if you're making a product, you're thinking, I want relational loyalty, but the path to relational loyalty is with very good transactional loyalty. So when one time I took Uber, they billed me twice. And I'm like, wait, it's $36. Hey, you billed me twice. Oh, we are so sorry. We apologize. You know what? We make the trip free. Wait, you took away $36. I didn't expect that, but you didn't even charge me for the trip. They have a lot of money, so they can do that. So what they did was they're trying to make me a relationship with Supreet as relational, not transactional. Because otherwise I have Uber, I have Lyft, I have the taxi, I look whichever one is cheaper. It's only 16 kilometers. I go with whichever is cheaper. That is my loyalty to my pocket. They want to have loyalty to their pocket. If you think of it in terms of my pocket or their pocket, they want me to be loyal to their pocket. That's relational loyalty. My Mac computer, this new one, was almost $4,000. I can buy 3 PCs in that much money. Why I wait 4 months to get this? Because I have very high relational loyalty to Apple, because I already have 3 things proven. They will give me a quality product. Remember the quality word. They will give me a quality service. And 2, they will continue giving me new adaptations that I'm excited to use. But by the way, do everybody know of a person named Deming? So Deming was an American engineer who went to Japan. He didn't get much traction here, but he went to Japan and he got great traction because he said the differentiator of how you become superior versus inferior is really about quality. And if you can measure the quality and show incremental change and shift in quality, you will get relational loyalty, which is why Honda, Toyota, Lexus, all of these things, they're hyper great at amazing quality product. And the Japanese, they dominate the most sophisticated market in the world, cameras. Who's in the camera market? Japanese and Germans, right? Two communities and cultures that are they're like rabidly crazy about high quality. I have an Audi. I drive an Audi. I love Audis. Why? Because I have had 3 accidents, all in my Audi, and I walked away with not a scratch. The car was finished one time. This big truck, the brakes failed. It hit my car from behind. From the bumper to the passenger seat was completely crushed. The engine fell, everything. The inside, I was completely safe. My passengers who were with me were completely safe. Shaken up, but safe. That is creating relational loyalty, making a product or service so superior that you are guaranteed it is going to do the same behavior every single time. That's boring Swiss level of quality. That's what the Swiss do. They make it so high a bar that other people cannot come there. Go ahead.
The world has changed, so you were able to make this high quality product in 90s, let's say 70s, 80s, and 90s, but then the economy switched to the economy based on information. And then the definition of the quality changes because you can still produce the best manufactured product, but if you don't have the high quality IT layer on top, you have a problem. And this is actually what happened in Japan.
Yeah, and by the way, so there's layers, IT layer, service layer, and then even the value added brand, the new young kids. When I was talking to my niece, she's 15, and I said, why you buy this thing? She said, oh, you know, I like Justin Bieber and this company supports Justin Bieber, so I bought this thing. So what has happened? Is it's the slices of where we used to have. You guys know, everybody got a sticky note. You know what a sticky note is, right? It's made by a company called 3M and knockoffs. Yeah, exactly. You know, Dorado. But we wanted to work like a sticky note every time. But the fact that what has happened is 3M, who made the sticky note, you know how they made the sticky note? How? You're on mute, Dorado.
Yeah, it was originally it was a product for painting cars or repainting cars, something easily to stick, and after the painting is done, to be as easily taken off the car.
Right. When you're doing custom cars and you can put this, they create a glue that leaves no residue, number one, and two, that will come off without taking the paint. You know, we use it in the house, you know, the green or blue one you put in the house when you paint, same thing, it's the quality of the glue. It was engineered by a guy who was trying to figure out what is happening, and they threw it away. They were like, this is useless. Why? The glue is not sticking. And then someone came with the idea, what if you can use it for this? And then they went to car guys and other places and they said, is this something of value? The most important thing here is customer validation. So in this new economy, the information economy, remember, we're moving from industrial to information. Industrial not disappearing. It's just the layers, the technology layer on top of an industrial economy allows us to create customization. If you have a high product and you create customization, you can do innovation with it. Let's use a very current example. It took 10 years of mRNA research that happened to come together 2 years ago to help us create a vaccine in record time, 1 year. If you think, how many of you got vaccinated? We all vaccinated, why? Because we want to protect our family, blah, 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 right? So the interesting piece about this innovation was the industrial part of it took 10 years to build the research. The informational part of it is the moment the problem showed up, the solution was ready. But the engine that pulled it together was because this was a big problem, and we said, let's put all our engineering people, and people said, we already have this thing we can use and innovate through it. And the nice part is all the governments in the world, that was the one time they all line up together to do this. All the innovation came together. The interesting, you know what is the interesting outcome of this? Designer medicine, malaria, herpes, HPV, shingles, all the up to now, we have been very good at bacterial management of medicine. You have antibiotics. They are all antibacteria medicine. For the first time, we never had how to deal with viruses. Viral stuff made everybody crazy. Herpes, HPV, common cold, it's a rhinovirus, strep throat, COVID, of course, but even things like malaria, all these complex things, because there's a virus in the middle somewhere, or the process is such you can use it. It's within the next 10 years, the medical innovation that is going to come, there's already 50 to 80 drugs that are going to come. There will be viral stuff, and they will go change your RNA, which will allow your body to build a new genetic defense. If you really think of how mRNA works, it goes and cuts out pieces to either work against the virus or and destroy it, or fortify your body and make it immune. That innovation has been in the works for a while. And actually medical innovation along with transportation, if you know, Dorada, you asked what are the innovations in the world? Mobility innovation is the transportation. So whether it's flying cars, autonomous cars, Hyperloop, how to move many people from point A to point B at the time you want with any. So what did Uber do? Why is Uber better than taxi? Anybody?
It's about the information. They know who you are. I mean, that you need to move from point A to point B, and they know the one that can provide you the service in time.
I don't need to call. I don't need to call them, and I don't need to pick up a phone. I don't like it. I just got my SMS, and communication with the client for Uber is very easy.
Okay.
It's not annoying.
What else? What on the supplier side did they change?
It's universal, so you can, if you go travel between cities, you can use Uber everywhere. You can use Uber with one application.
Okay, what else?
Form of employment of drivers.
Ah, Tomasz, this is the magic thing they did. They made everybody a driver. Before, you're in Warsaw, it's rush hour, it's 5 p.m., it's raining, or it's going to snow, a big storm. How many taxis in all of Warsaw? Any idea what number?
100.
Let's say in total Warsaw, 4,000 taxis. What's the population of Warsaw?
Almost 3 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of that, let's say 1% of, let's make it 4 million just to make it easy. 1% of 4 million is how many people?
40,000.
I'm sorry?
40,000.
40,000. 40,000 people. How many taxis in all of Warsaw? 4,000 taxis, right? How many people not going to get a taxi?
36,000.
36,000 no taxi. What did Uber do? It took a fixed amount of taxis and made it an unlimited amount of drivers. If you know, when Uber first started, I signed up for Uber. I said, let me figure out how I can do this, how it works. So I signed up to be a driver. Do you know how many times I was going to the city, I turn on the Uber app and I pick somebody up, you know, and I take them to the city on the way, and it pays for my petrol. And I make friends with people because you know, I have an Audi, it's a nice car, everybody's, what do you do? Da, 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 da. We talk, I made friends that way. But the biggest thing Uber did was it made the supply, which was very limited, to unlimited. And when the supply got tightened, it raised the price in a dynamic manner to help manage it. Right? Juliana, go ahead.
I had a question actually some time ago, if I might ask. Well, so we are all here startuppers, right? We are on the program MBA for startups, and if we're gonna start with our startup, or already someone has, when is the border between a buying customer and loyalty in good service? Because like me as a customer, I can, you know, when the company is just starting, right? So some people, I don't know, depends on different factors and mentality, and I don't know, country, can think, oh, this company will buy me, like they are paying in advance, or they give me some I don't know, discounts and so on. And when it's like, so if there is a border, or what we should consider creating this loyalty for our customers, and how much it will take, like if we're starting, like, of course, like for me, I will be loyal, I will try to do maximum the best for my customer, and like to create a love mark, but then it depends like of the resources, financing, and so on. So if there is some time.
Yeah, so you guys see this, I just drew this. The loyalty part is somewhere where the cost or the investment, it's up to what is the cost. The cost can be low or high when the value you're creating is low or high, right? What was the problem? Let's use Uber as an example. And what's the difference? Uber and taxi had two differences. What was the biggest difference? On value, what is the biggest difference with Uber?
Price, availability.
Price, availability.
Comfort.
The one that really matters was comfort. The taxi was never clean.
Yeah, and
the driver is smoking. He tells you, you want to go, you don't go, I don't care, get in the car, get out. For Uber, because it was normal people, right? It's no longer this jaded driver who is, you know, he was a normal person, where you want to go. Sometimes they give you water. No, the question becomes one of value. And when you perceive that you're offering high value at a manageable cost, if you can give high value at high cost, that's, you know, a car, you know, black car, limousine, they give you very high value, but it costs a lot, right? They pick you up from the airport, from the airplane sometime, they take you all the way, they give you water, champagne, whatever, but it costs a lot of money. But what the biggest difference was, you got perceived high value, and value comes in different things. Availability, remember the simplicity, availability, the friendliness. But the biggest thing that made this happen, one was supply is available, and two, it was clean and people felt safe.
Guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but Uber in Poland, it's kind of a different kettle of fish. I mean, the Warsaw taxis, at least one I know, were usually quite clean and safe, but expensive, and you had to have some experience to choose the proper one, the one that won't rip you off at the end. The good thing about Uber is I usually know how much I will pay at the end. But on the dark side, most of the drivers don't know the city at all and can't speak my language. So it's also a barrier. It's different here. Like there are people from, I don't know, from Asia, from Africa, who can't speak both Polish and English, and are driving using Google Maps instead of just knowing the city and being accustomed to where are usually the traffics and how to just drive around it.
You mentioned everything. Google Maps is a very intelligent tool, because Google Map actually routes you around the traffic, right? So what was the biggest
It's getting
problem?
better, yeah.
Yeah, what was the biggest problem with taxi drivers? The big problem in New York City, but many big cities, was one, you didn't have price visibility.
True, yeah.
You didn't have safety. But let's say you had to, like from New York JFK Airport to Manhattan, you have to take a taxi. Okay, you have to take a taxi before the train. You had to take a taxi. You had to get in, you had to pay the price. And if you were new first time, the guy takes you all over the place. When I go to a new city, and I get in an Uber or I get into a taxi, I'm like, I got the map. Okay,
Yeah.
you want me to tell you directions? You know what happens with the relationship between the driver and you when you have the power to say, I got the map.
Yeah.
See, the power shift, the power was always in the hands of the taxi driver. Therefore, your price manipulation or availability to control price was zero.
Yeah, and they used to ask those tricky questions like, do you prefer this this bridge or the other? Like testing your knowledge of the
Your
city
knowledge.
and
Are
your
you
experience.
local or are you a stranger? If you're
Yeah.
not local, then I go the long way because I make a little bit more money and it
Yeah.
adds up, right?
Yeah.
But let's take this from a different. So technology, this is the other piece of innovation, is technology is innovative in that it gives you, it's moving powers from a few to the many.
Yeah.
Right?
I see.
And that's why in many places Uber worked, because Uber basically is democratizing technology. Let's use a different example. I'll give you a different example. It's a very interesting. Do you have DoorDash?
No.
Do you have food delivery services?
Yeah.
Right. What is the
Uber.
food delivery service doing?
Uber. Okay.
It's like Uber, right?
No, we have Uber delivery service.
Uber delivery service.
Food delivery.
Uber Eats. We call it Uber Eats over here. Here we have this one called DoorDash. A very interesting thing they did. Same concept, right? We are democratizing the availability of food to you on demand from any place you want, right? They become the middleman. Before you're like, oh wait, it's 11 p.m. I just came back home. I live in Mordor, and the problem with Mordor is there's no restaurant that is open. So what do? I call Uber Eats. I can pick from any restaurant and they will deliver to me. Look at it's not about you going to the restaurant, it's about the restaurant coming to you, right? And you all know about Mordor, right? Mordor, after 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, is dead. It's a ghost town. You cannot get food. You can't even get taxi over there, right? It's Mordor. It tells you I know about Warsaw, The interesting piece about what all of these technology solutions, when you're creating a startup, this is the disruption thinking you have to think. Am I increasing the pool of suppliers, which will allow me to increase the pool of customers, because the value added service I provide on top of my product is because of I know something about the information differential. The taxi driver had power because the information differential was it was on the side of the taxi driver. With Google Maps, the power shifted to the customer. So the taxi driver cannot take you the long way because you can see traffic. Oh no, it's red. I'm not going that way. It's red. I want to go green. Okay, go look at this. Then that. It also changed the communication metric because it shifted the power. And then with Uber, the Uber driver is just like you. He's a customer. He's not a taxi driver. He's not a profession. It's just like you. So there's more empathy. Sometimes it was like talking to me. I was a VC. I'm an executive. I'm driving my Audi, and people are talking to me. What do you do? Oh, in real life, this is what I do. Otherwise, and then many times I meet startup people or other people. We start talking. One of my really good friends right now is because I met him in my car. He gave me the phone number. He called me. He said, "Listen, I do this. We should talk." And he's a professor at Stanford, and we got to become friends. So the soft pieces around your product and service you don't ignore, because sometimes they're the ones that, remember, we talk about transactional loyalty versus relational loyalty. If you're making a product for the masses, first you have to build a strong layer of transactional loyalty. Then with the quality of service, you build relational loyalty. So you have to think of the process. You have to go through transactional loyalty. But if you come at it with a high quality metric in mind, you will always get more. Now, the caveat. The problem is if you're making a product for the masses, the cost variable, this whole question of where is the value given the cost and where are you? And if this if this are dots of competitors all over, where do you want to fit? Do you want to be a leader? Do you want to be a good follower? There's an advantage to be a leader. It's called barrier to entry. But if you're doing a common service, there's a slow barrier to entry into the market for competition. Then you want as many people as possible, because the barrier to entry becomes the fact that you have actually gathered the biggest number of people. That's why they Uber and Didi and everybody spend all the money, because their value at the end of this process is about the biggest number of customer base, eyeballs. It's the difference between MySpace and Facebook. I actually used to like MySpace because I think they created a better product in the beginning compared to Facebook. The only difference was they never closed the loop they never understood the human psychology. You say, this is about recognition that people need to be famous. And in your group, you become famous because of like. The most innovative thing about Facebook is the like button. So you have to think, where's your startup? If you're B2B, your innovation is about making it frictionless for your business who you're selling to sell to the customer. They will do the marketing. What is the difference between a B2B and a B2C? Is a B2B markets to companies. So there you're talking about feature, functionality, data information, simplicity, transaction simplicity, fluidity. And when you're talking about B2C, there you're talking about relationship, stickiness in terms of making people's psychology work. One is process and feature-based. The other one is all about emotion. So B2C is emotion. B2B is about feature functionality. So you think about those distinctions there. And if you're B2B2C, it's a hybrid. You do feature functionality, but you also help them do some of the emotional component. How many of you eat at Subway? Is Subway there? What is Subway? We call it franchise, but what is a franchise model? It's a B2B2C, right? For the person who signed up to open a Subway store, it's prepackaged food, it's organized, systematic sandwich making. It's the same thing. It's repetitive. It's high quality, right? The B2C is Subway doing all the branding and all of that, and you call it franchise. So you pay some money to buy the franchise because you keep making money. But every year you pay a certain amount to Subway, the company, because they create this and make it easy for you, right? It's not about the data. They even tell you who's going to come, when, whatever, because they will take all that information from the system and prepackage and give it back to you. That's a B2B2C. Very interesting innovation when it first started, actually, because making sandwiches is actually quite complex. If you think about all the food that has to be fresh and to be delivered at the same time, what's the worst thing that can happen at a sandwich shop? Liliana?
I don't know. Not. It will.
Bad sandwich.
Not fresh food. Balsamic.
Bad sandwich. It makes you sick.
Yeah, that would be very bad.
Because in the old days, before Subway, fast food provide you consistent same thing, even though it's boring. Maybe with the exception of McDonald's fries, because I think McDonald's fries are a gift from God. So the interesting piece about standardization, quality, it lives on a different perspective. So if you think about standardization, I'm writing, and then quality, there's a metric between this. You see the second one, standardization and quality live on two different planes. You have to sit about where in this area you want to play as a startup. You can be standardized, right? The Swiss, amazing thing. You have to tell them the most amazing thing. The thing that we are, okay, with the exception of our relationship with our family, the next most important relationship is with money. People agree with that statement? Right? And imagine, and the two things with money, how to preserve it. First, how to make it, but once you make it, how to preserve it and how to grow it. That's it. And the Swiss make it so easy. We will show you how to preserve your money, and we'll show you how to grow your money. So to grow money, there's a preemptive presumption that they will not lose you money. But to preserve money is they will not lose you money. That consistency is so amazing. It works every single time the same way. Like a Swiss watch, like my watch. It tells me the time the same way, doesn't skip. What I used to, when I was a kid, I lived in Africa. When I was around 10 or 11, I got my first watch. You know, it was before Apple Watch and all this stuff. It was a real watch. But it was made by a company called Poljot. Does anybody know a company called Poljot? It was a Russian watch company. Now, what was the benefit of Poljot? It was very cheap. What was the problem with Poljot? Sometimes the watch worked backwards. You used to wind it. You have to be careful. You wind it too much, it stops working. You know, you can't put it in the shower. You can't go swimming, anything. And you have to be very careful. And sometimes you took the watch off. You used to do this. I'll tell you what I used to do. You take the watch and then you used to do to fix it because sometimes it was working backwards. I'm like, it's working backwards again. And you go click it because there was some gear that would slip and then the watch would go the other way because there's still a spring because you wind it and the spring is losing the energy, but the little gear would slip. So you tap it and the gear would go back, then you go moving forward. But I will tell you, this is my Omega watch. I bought this in 1995. And what year are we now? And it works. I only sent it to do cleaning one time. It's still the same watch. Even my mother said, why you have the same watch? I'm like, because it's consistent, it's the same. I love it. It never fails. So the value of Switzerland, we call it boring, but boring has a very important value. It's not boring, it's consistency. And you want to learn quality, you go to learn quality from two kinds of people, actually three people. The Germans, because they are rabid about the automobiles and their quality is amazing. The Japanese, because if you look at photography equipment and everything, they're amazing. And the Swiss, because you look at their watches. But you also look at their banking. You know, and what happens is even a very boring thing like quality, consistency becomes a hallmark of what is important. So you have to choose which one is important for the customer. And by the way, that makes innovation. Other people make watches, but guess what? Nobody charges money like a Swiss watch. It's ridiculous.
Because this is a brand like Swiss watch, it's already well known. So that gives a credibility also.
Right, but if my watch went backwards, what is the brand? Zero, right? But because I know it works the same way, the same time, they always say, your train should work like a Swiss watch.
And it's only additional value you were the same brand as James Bond, right?
Well, that's the marketing part. The boys want to wear the watch because they want to feel like they become the relationship of, I want to be like James Bond. Most of us, we live behind a desk, behind a computer. We cannot shoot. We cannot meet the beautiful woman. We just have to live, except for Damien. Don't forget, right? And yeah, hold on. But the rest of us live through somebody else's experience. Now, this is a very important thing. Living through somebody else's experience is what influencers are doing. So this is the new innovation. I will come to your question, Wojciech. The new other innovation is the marketing innovation. Dorada, you asked about one of the innovations, so mobility innovation, transportation innovation, but the new innovation is actually going to be communication innovation, and you will not be able to tell the difference between a human talking to you and a computer talking to you because it will be AI driven. And it will be AI driven because it will know you better than you know yourself based on your buying behavior.
It's happening already. Like
Yes.
AI already is forecasting weather on television, as well as is able to book the meeting at the hairdresser. As good, it's hard to tell, or it's impossible to tell. It's AI calling, actually.
Right, and what is AI? I mean, what is that? What is it doing? If you really think about what is it replacing? Wojciech? What do you think? What is AI replacing?
This poor guy from the low-cost location that will have to do the job in certain time, and that's what the AI is doing.
Right. When what
It's
does it
processing the
enable?
information.
Oh,
What does it
hundreds, thousands of poor guys in poor locations.
Right.
But the poor guy was not about the poor guy was about the boring job that you have to do every
I
day,
know.
consistent.
I know,
It's not
but
well paid.
like
Yeah.
hundreds of them, right? It's
Yeah.
much
Well,
more efficient as well.
Okay, so economies are in different stages of evolution. The American economy, the European economy, the Chinese economy are in higher stages of evolution. China because of manufacturing and speed in innovation. Europe because I'm always amazed at Europe, and especially Poland. The level of engineering talent in Poland is very high. And so moving from the industrial economy in 5 years, what I saw 5 years ago and now is a big shift. And I love it because what you have done is you decided we are going to become a technological powerhouse. It's hard because also Poland is a manufacturing powerhouse. Now you don't think of it, but if you think of steel, you think of cars, you think of many products, locomotives, many products Poland makes. And those are old type products, but remember, industrial economy will get an information layer on top. It's not going to take away from the industrial. The only difference is the industrial will become automated. Now, the challenge as a policy level for innovation is for politicians and everybody is what do you do with these people who were doing this work before manually, and now the computer is taking over? You have to retrain them. You have to create, okay, I'll give you a very important example. How many of you worked for a non-information company before? One, raise your hand. Two, almost every, even me, a lot of us, right? Why are you doing this education? Because you want to play in what you know is the new information economy, and the startup is your way of penetrating it and move from, you take your very high complex informational economy knowledge, you add this information layer with the new community of this concept of startups, and you become a player in the information economy. If you really look at that, and just this subset of class, if you look at what you're doing, you're moving from industrial economy to information economy. Now, this is sponsored by you to do an MBA. If you do this at a policy level, at a country level, give me a country that does this very well. It's right next to you guys.
Estonia.
It starts with an E.
Estonia.
Estonia. Small company decided with leadership 15 years ago to create digital citizen. Moving to information economy. Amazing. It's the time. How are we doing on time?
We have about 15 minutes now.
Okay, now we should just go through questions and stuff, but is this, first of all, is this of value to you? Yes, no? Useless?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. Otherwise,
Yes.
it's quality control for me to say, what is our value? Let's use the 15 minutes we have to sort of dialogue on what else do you want to talk about. First of all, I'm going to do something here. Please look me up on LinkedIn. And I'm going to give you my, I think
I
it
did
was
already.
Yeah, but I'm going to do it again. This is my email. You can reach out to me through the school, but also in yourself, and you can ask me any question you like forever. Especially if you put Warsaw School of Economics in the subject, I will respond quickly, okay? Because I want you to always have access to me as a friend, but also as a resource, in Silicon Valley, whatever. There are a lot of, this is just scratching the surface. We could actually do this as a session for like a whole year, like 6 months, and we will go through, small topics of, okay, what is marketing excellence? What is, industrial innovation? What is customer realization? And then there's a whole conversation on the data layer alone. What is data up till today, and what is data of the future? And then what is the whole future of work? We are doing all this stuff. Please also go to my, this is my marketing, Raven Capital, if you didn't, .com, and you will see, oh, let me make sure I spell it right. I can't see half the time. This is when you get old. The problem is you can't see. But we have a blog called Dry Powder, and we have things. So give us feedback, talk to us, you know, because we are in the business of helping startups, and we want to do this with you. So now let's go through your questions.
I'm thinking on some books recommendation. You mentioned you would like to share with us some inspirations,
So,
right? Apart from the first one.
Was The Goal by Elihu Goldratt.
Yeah, we have this one.
The second one is, I want you to look up one of my mentors. His name is Peter Senge. He's an MIT professor, you know, and look at his books. It's all about the learning organization.
Perfect books, I love it.
Yeah, it's magnificent. It's what it taught me. So The Goal taught me process. The learning organization taught me how to build an organization that is constantly learning. It's really, really important, because I think even though startups are about technology and everything else, at the end of the day, it's about people. And as a matter of fact, it's even more complicated because you have a very small team of people. If you don't learn how to build an organization that is open and transparent and learning, you will fail very quickly. So, you know, that was, okay, so what else we have? What directions of software, Thomas, hi Thomas, what types of software will change services or customers in the future? With direction of software development are promising? Okay, so 3 layers of software development. First layer, what makes life simple? Remember that one? So for the customer, what makes life simple? What makes it, and that's why this iPhone is a great, it became a platform. Whenever you're building software, you build a platform where you can build things to make life simpler for the customer, irrespective of C customer or B customer, you know, a business customer or a consumer customer. It's still the same, making life simple, faster, easier to use, higher quality. Secondly, AI is going to change everything. So I use a term, I'm going to put it over here, and I want you to go look for this and keep an eye on it. It's called augmented AI. There's a lot of noise in the system about AI. Everybody wants to talk about AI. The garage guy, I went to change the oil on my car, talk about, we use AI now. I'm like, what AI are you using? See, I use a computer, I connect to the car, it tells me you need this much. I'm like, that's silly. That's not AI. That's just normal computer diagnostics. But AI, if you think of, will be the beginning of creating a way to make your action not focus on the transaction, but on the experience. AI in the next, I predict, this is my prediction, in 15 years, AI will become the background thing that runs. Automated transportation is already here. The car will start to drive itself. You will be there to focus on the experience of being in the car. The car will change. But once you get connected cars, network cars, then they will, you know, right now we drive a car, we have to look in front because the guy in front is going to, you know, slam on the brake because the guy in front of, you know, the dog ran in the road, you know, kind of nonsense. But imagine if all the cars are connected. Then when there's slowdown, they all slow down collectively, so the traffic will shift. Actually, cars will have less distance between themselves and faster reaction time because all the cars will be connected, talking to each other faster than we can talk to each other. So transportation will become augmented. I will tell you, pilots flying will become augmented. Same. Cars, any transportation thing, trucks, anything will become, the AI will take over running the background normal behavior. It will become the unnormal, the not normal behavior that the human will be used in. So the human can do more interesting things. So let me give you a different way of looking at it. In the military, there's in airplanes, there's usually 2 officers. There's a pilot and there's a weapons officer, right? The pilot's job is to fly the plane. The weapons officer is actually more important. He is the one who is actually looking, is this target a friend, or is this plane in the sky, look at the radar, is a friend or a foe? If it's a foe, he has to destroy it. If it's a friend, he has to protect it. The plane, the AI will start flying the plane. You watch. And the AI will be able to react faster than humans. And maybe at some point, we will all end up with planes with no pilots. Because there's a limitation. A plane with being flight by computer can do a very quick turn, and maybe it's a 10G or 12G turn. A human pilot will pass out and maybe he will die. But a machine pilot will just be a machine. It's not going to have the human variability. But the same thing, ships will become automated. So anything to do normal, simple behavior will be, the automation will take over. Now, it's a big disruption. It's a big disruption. What are you going to do with all these humans? There will be two reactions. One reaction is if you don't create new training mechanisms or new products or service for the humans that are going to get freed up, you're going to get revolution, because they are going to say, don't take the technology, because adoption is very hard. But if you make technology and new services for the same, the mechanic who is fixing the car, who, when the AI starts doing this stuff, you say, no, we're not making you redundant. We're making you more important. So instead of doing 10 cars in a day, you can do 50 cars in a day. And you have to have that mentality to, how do I bring them to become a participant in this new economy? That's the innovation. All you startups is going to be, can I make the customer have a better experience? Can you make the process faster? Can I simplify it? And most importantly, what problem does it solve? You're back to what problem does it solve, right? That's the innovation. This innovation creates X. It solves this problem by doing the simplification, the ILIDs, as I call it, flexibility, availability, simplification. And then are you willing to pay a cost for that? Uber's, we use Uber as an example. Uber Eats as an example. I'm willing to pay for the guy to deliver sushi to me at 11 o'clock at night because I live in Mordor and there's no sushi restaurant, and you know more.
For the AI, there is also a danger because let's say if the job is done by person, we can say, okay, there was a human errors in case of any issues, but in case of an AI, there is always the security issue, and let's say we don't give too much options to make mistakes for AI. That's why for Tesla there is always big noise whenever there is an accident.
Exactly, but guess what? How many accidents on cars happen with humans? I will give you the number for United States alone. In 1 year, 50,000 people die with human-driven cars.
Yes, I agree with that. But from the perspective of the, let's say, as I mentioned, there's a human error. That's, let's say, everyone knows that we are a human, we can make errors, but we don't give this credentials for machine error, let's say, for this tolerance.
Right. So that will create innovation in the insurance industry. That will be the new insurtech. Because for human error, we have quantified that a human will make certain number and we create insurance for it. The same thing will happen for automation and cars. Now, it will go through the cycle. It will be hype, then it will become normal, then it will become completely normal, and then there'll be new innovation. But the interesting piece about this is the AI cannot at this point, if you train an AI to look for dogs, pictures of dogs, and you show it a picture of cat, it doesn't know what to do. Yeah. If you train AI, and this is it's called the bias equation in AI. If you train AI to look for everybody who looks like you, and then you put Supreet with the turban, the AI doesn't know what a Supreet is. So we have to think. See, the problem with it's like training a child. How do you teach a child when something is hot? Don't touch, hot. How do you teach a child? How many of you have children? How do you teach a child it's hot?
By experience.
By experience. Now, how do you teach a black child that it's hot?
By experience.
By experience. But the AI cannot tell the difference between a white child and a black child because it has never, if you don't have enough cases, it will not know what to do. A Supreet's child you know, the AI is looking at Supreet Child and goes, who is this? What is this? I don't know. He's got something on his head. He's not a human. It's a classification problem. So that is the learning piece of, we have to teach it to, we have to actively program anti-bias into it. You show AI only pictures of men, then you show him a woman, AI doesn't know what to do with a woman. So you have to create that balance, and that is the new challenge. And that's where humans have to come in to do that work. Very important work. The failure in AI is going to be a failure of recognition and patterns. AI is all about just patterns, right?
Yeah, I wonder it at some point will make an AI that will be able to teach itself. So let's say if it will see the, let's say it was trained to see a man's, and then at some point it will see a woman, and then, okay, what I think it's similar, but
yeah, it
at the
is,
moment we have most of the AIs are very specialized.
So up till now, if you look at what AI is in the very beginning of AI, we're in the business of recognition. That's all. We have three layers underneath AI. There's pattern matching, machine learning, and probability. If you read, AI is pattern matching plus machine learning plus probability. That's the formula. And in each one, if you have pieces of data, it does millions and millions of iterations to learn. And how does it learn? It assigns probability to it. And the higher the probability, that means accept. The lower the probability, that means deny. So by the way, it has to learn both. It has to learn the yes and the no. And then it is in the world of maybe that it fails. And that's where humans come in. So that's why I use the word augmented AI. It will never be AI by itself. It will always require humans, but it will be different kind of work for people. So that's the next innovation. Biotechnology, you know, the mixture of technology and biology and science in creating new medicines, actually what I will call designer medicine. You know, Dorada, you asked what are the innovations? Designer medicine. The medicine is designed based on my personal biomic, you know, my gene mapping and what's missing to create a medicine that is custom to me. Very important, and it's coming. It is what AI does is help us process lots of things very fast to bring probabilistic conclusions. So if you're doing testing, medicine testing, it is doing the same. What about this? What about this? What about? It's asking this question. What about this? What about this? What about this? Millions of times over, trillions of times over, and the result is yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, based on if you give it a probability threshold. Anything above 90% is a yes, or anything about 99% is a yes. Anything below 80% is a no, and in the middle is the maybe. Then in the maybe you refine it further because there's still pattern matching. Then the machine learns, then the probability comes into play. If you think about that, and it will become the next wave of where we're going. The other piece that I think when you guys are doing startups is you look at the geography of where you are and where your customers can be. So imagine I have a company that we invest in. Has everybody heard of a company called M-Pesa? Okay. It was designed in Kenya. It has been in existence for 15 years in Kenya. M-Pesa was designed by Vodafone, which was the big telecom player in Kenya, because they have done a lot of Wi-Fi, wireless work, but very little wired work. Many places don't even have roads, but they have cell phone tower now. And it made it easy so that, imagine if, Camille and I were on the same Vodafone network, right? And what they did was became the middleman to say, okay, Supreet, you have 10 zloty balance in your phone account. And Camille also has a phone account. Am I saying it right? Your name?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. And so you can give him 7 zloty because he's on say, and we will be middleman and we will take a very small percentage of that, 1%. That shifted the whole money economy from physical money to digital money. Because it became so easy. So first they create a layer of merchants. So you can go somewhere to put the money because you had to pay your bill for the phone. You can also put extra money. So they're merchants. Then they created a network of agents that signed up people to say, do you want to use this? And they got a little piece of the transaction. But during COVID, you know what happened? 60% of Kenya's GDP, 60% of Kenya's GDP went through M-Pesa transactions. Completely shifted money. So actually, when you're doing startups about money, finance, whatever, what's the most boring place in the world to go visit? Come on. About money, it's related to money. What's the most boring place to go visit in the world?
Where there is no money?
A bank. The bank is the most boring place to go visit. You have to talk to this faceless person. Hello, what do you want? I want my money. No, you cannot have it. Why? You have to have minimum balance. What? It's my money. Give it to me. And in a third world, it's even more crazy because sometimes you have to pay a bribe to get your money back. It's completely crazy. And so what does Vodafone do? They create M-Pesa. What does M-Pesa do? It democratizes money. So now Juliana can pay 10 people here. Juliana and I decide we're going to have a party, and for the class, when I come to Warsaw, we go to sushi restaurant, everybody come, Juliana gets a bill, and she gets a bill, and then she does, okay, you know what? Everybody, you have to pay, 50 zloty per person, and she just does it digitally, everybody get it, everybody paid back, boom, it's done. Did we go to a bank? No. Did we use physical money? No. We use a little phone. We use this guy. And that's what the difference is when you're shifting. They simplified the transaction because they did not have banks. They did not have branches. They did not have physical buildings. So they made digital bank. One of my investments in Dubai is a digital bank to do just this. Because we're simplifying the process. So in Warsaw, you can do this. I was talking to the Allegro people yesterday, and I asked them, why you don't create the banking? Oh, it's complicated, credit card. I'm like, you can be the self-bank because so many transactions come in, so many transactions go out. You just need to manage the delta between what came in and what came out. The rest is just transferring between digital transfers, right? So hopefully I gave you lots of examples of where you will see this become disruption, innovation, and possibilities. And was this very helpful to you guys?
Yeah, thank you. It's very good, very
Yes,
interesting.
definitely.
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay. Any questions you have, please ask. You can ask through Anna and also through your professor. We can actually, it would be good if you ask together because then we can do that. So I gave you Peter Senge's 5th discipline for the learning organization. I gave you the goal so you can look at it from a process thing. And I'm thinking of one other book here. And I will look it up. It's a book on AI, but I can't remember the name of it. I will look it up and send it to you. Okay. It's a really good primer on learning AI and the future of stuff. I also do a lot of work with Singularity University, and I have a lot of their notes. So I will share with you guys that too, Thank you for all your time. Thank you for what you are doing for the world and for your humanity. You guys in Poland, God love you, God bless you, all of you. You're amazing. You're amazing.
And Uliana from Ukraine.
That's why you're from Ukraine. I am joining Uliana to thank everybody in the world for doing something for Ukraine. And also as an innovator, I will tell you the most important thing. Thank you for teaching us how to do it so the next one will be like you. Will be like you. And God bless Ukraine and God bless Poland and God, this war business, this is even pre-industrial behavior. This is animal behavior, in my opinion. The world needs to be global. Look at how much opportunity we have. Look at how much imagine all this energy and innovation. What a different world we will be.
Yeah, but I think this is the backfire of the world becoming global. They cannot accept that. So this is like a last moment dinosaur revolution.
Right, but even when it's dying, the different part of the body didn't get the message of the brain that you're dying, and so it's reacting in this method of madness. And to me, it's just, I have very good Russian friends, and they are completely confused what to do. And I have very good friends from Ukraine, and actually, my friend from Ukraine is married to my friend from Russia. And the two of them are so angry at the world because it was like, what in the world are you doing? What is this happening? I wish, and thank you for you guys, because it's from you guys and your innovation. You're the young people. You're the people who are going to lead. I'm going to be dead in 30 years. You guys will still be alive, and tomorrow's teachers, tomorrow's innovation comes from you. So God bless you. Thank you. And if I can ever help, just tell me and I will be there for you.
Will you invest in Ukrainian
Thank you very much.
ecosystem later?
I'm sorry, Juliana?
Will you invest in Ukrainian startups or ecosystem when it will finish and it will be beautiful country? We will rebuild my country.
Absolutely. I have people already in 2 startups from Ukraine who work with me, and they were in Kyiv, and we helped them move out. They're actually right now, they finally went to the boring place, Switzerland. So thank you for everything, you guys. You guys are doing amazing things. And thank you for the School of Economics, Warsaw School of Economics. You guys I think this is such an amazing program. I'm so honored to be part of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are really thank you for participating today in this meeting, and I think a lot of great ideas from you as examples, and I think we have a lot to think now. So. I'm sure we'll have some questions, so I'm sure we'll contact you. Thank you for being with us, and good weekend. Good the rest of the weekend. Let's. I hope we'll be not engaging as meeting with us. Sorry that we haven't done a break during the meeting.
We just kept talking.
It was so I didn't want to interrupt you with making a break, because it was quite interactive. Thank you very much for being with us, and you. Thank you for participating. We will do more such events as this one. I think Supreet is special, but we have a few special people on our list. So be to us, please, and see you next time. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless. Take care.
Bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for good energy. Bye-bye.